So here we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have our good friend Sneako again, and he's all dressed up for Dawa, and he's in the backseat, I think, with a Catholic guy, and Sneako is doing his Dawa. But guess who's having none of it today? Our good friend Mike Jones, retired rapper Mike Jones, Inspiring Philosophy, is going to be responding to Sneako, who all he ever does is give like the Dawa script. But you start to see how bad it is. Even though he's using the exact same claims that your average Dawa guy would use, look at how easy this is to rip apart. And you should all be wondering, Christians of the world, you should be wondering how these guys get away with this when it is so easy to completely debunk and dismantle. Let's watch some of this.
Jesus was a Muslim.
No, he wasn't.
I know you're Catholic. He was. He can't be a Christian. How could Jesus be a Christian?
We don't teach Jesus as a Christian. Followers of Jesus are Christians. And this is a false dichotomy. Just because Jesus is not a Christian, that doesn't magically make him a Muslim, Sneako.
This is very important. This is every time Sneako speaks, there is some sort of logical fallacy. So Inspiring Philosophy just pointed out the false dichotomy, meaning where you say, well, if it's not this, so it must be this. He's not a Christian because a Christian is a follower of Christ. So Jesus isn't a Christian himself. So if he's not a Christian, then he must be a Muslim. That's what Sneako just claimed. If someone isn't a Christian, he has to be a Muslim. Those are the only two. That's why it's called a false dichotomy. You're saying these are the two options when there are an endless array of options.
I just break it down and just use words that everyone can understand. It's like this. Hey, did you know that Jesus was a Muslim? No, he was not. Are you saying that Jesus Christ was actually a follower of Christ? Obviously not. So he was a Muslim.
Yep, has to be a Muslim. You're either that or that. Those are the only two options. No, wrong, Sneako, you're stupid. And this is just what's amazing. Like what Sneako said, that's exactly what the Dawa guys say. He's just absorbed the Dawa script. He's a walking Dawa script. And it's kind of fun because it makes it fun to watch him get ripped apart. But here we go.
He wasn't Jewish religiously because he believed in heaven and hell. His belief system did not follow the Jewish faith.
Not all Jews believe the same thing. There are many Orthodox Jews that believe in some type of heaven and hell. And let's be clear, Jesus most definitely was of Jewish descent.
Okay. And then he said Jesus
He wasn't Jewish because he believed in heaven and hell. And so what would be the assumption there? That no Jew could believe in heaven or hell. And so now he's got the now it's, well, he's not a Christian or a Jew, therefore he's a Muslim. All right. So Inspiring Philosophy put up the passage there. How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? A Samaritan woman pointing out, hey, you're a Jew.
Okay. And then he said Jesus was a Christian. Christianity is based on the fact that he died for his sins. You can't be a religion when the whole religion is based upon him dying. So he must be a Muslim.
Sneako, once again, that's a false dichotomy.
See that, ladies and gentlemen? In Christianity, Jesus died on the cross for sins, and that's foundational Christianity. But he couldn't have put his faith in himself over that sort of thing. Therefore, he's a Muslim.
Wow, man, this
is like the dumbest thing ever. And I guarantee, without even looking, I guarantee you, wherever that clip is, Muslims, oh, alhamdulillah, Sneako's so powerful with his Dawa. Oh my goodness, he's so great. Every single thing he says involves a fallacy. Every single thing.
You could have a serious scholar sit down here and present the most amazing research for an hour, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is wrong. It's wrong." And then you have Sneako saying, "Well, there's a whole religion based on Jesus dying. It doesn't make sense." And the audience is like 60,000 people are like, "Yes, brother, mashallah."
Mm-hmm.
This is why I would totally help the aliens.
I would choose the aliens. Here we go. Let's get more Sneako here.
So he must be a Muslim.
Sneako, once again, that's a false dichotomy. It doesn't logically follow that because Jesus is not a Christian, he therefore must be a Muslim. Jesus taught us that he existed before Abraham was born, that we must be baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, that we must partake of the Eucharist, which is his real flesh and his real blood, that he came to die, atone for our sins, and resurrect. And on the last day, it is going to be Jesus who resurrects us.
Doesn't sound like a
And
Muslim.
this is just a fraction of the many things Jesus taught that are not in line with Islam.
Because in the Bible and the Quran, Jesus put his head to the floor and prostrated and prayed like a Muslim do.
There you have it. He bowed down and put his head on the floor to pray. Let me go ahead and read that.
What
You
did he
have
say then?
you have that. You have that in Matthew 26. You have that in Matthew 26. Here's the verse, and here's how Muslims read it. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed. You see, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed. You see, Muslim, what did he pray? They stop it right there. I've seen it over and over again. I've seen them stop the quotation right there. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, my Father, my Father, my Father, my Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken. My
No,
Father.
He can't have said that because the Quran said, because according to the Quran, Allah gets incredibly angry about the thought of, asserting that somebody could call Allah Father, or people could call themselves son of Allah or children of Allah. So this is not possible. Jesus can't have said these things.
Yeah, so AP, you're an ex-Muslim. Let's get your expert opinion here. When Muslims pray, and we have Sneako right there praying in the mosque right there. When Muslims pray, do they start their prayers, my Father?
Nope, because that would be unacceptable. It would be blasphemy, and you would be out of the bounds of Islam.
Huh. And so Sneako is saying Jesus here must be a Muslim because he's praying like a Muslim, and he isn't praying like a Muslim at all. And if he prayed like this, Muslims would be pretty darn upset with him over this. And so, interesting. All right, let's back this thing up. But nope, he must be a Muslim. What's up?
Well, it could be that that the gospel recorded it correctly up until that spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got that. But our good friend Inspiring Philosophy is going to point out another problem, and then I'll probably point out another one as well.
Quran, Jesus put his head to the floor and prostrated and prayed like a Muslim do.
You know, Sneako, if you like Jesus so much, why don't you do what he commanded? Be baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And Jesus didn't always pray with his face down. In John 17, it says he lifted his eyes to heaven. In Mark 11, he instructed you could pray while standing.
Pray while standing.
And you ask like, but...
And by the way, there's another fallacy. I don't think IP points this one out. This is a fallacy. So guys, notice the reasoning. Muslims pray with their heads to the ground. Jesus prayed with his head to the ground. Therefore, Jesus is a Muslim. If you don't know what an actual fallacy is called, ladies and gentlemen, you can always just start inserting some other ingredients into it and then see if it makes sense. So the fallacy here, the fallacy is actually called the fallacy of the undistributed middle. You don't need to know that. Just think about other ingredients. So Muslims pray with their faces on the ground. Jesus prayed with his face to the ground. So you can ignore the other passages where Jesus looks up to heaven because they'll ignore all those. They'll just go with the one that actually fits. And it will ignore the fact that he says, my Father. We'll ignore all that. We'll ignore the fact that none of this lines up with Islam. Just ignore everything else in the entire rest of the New Testament. Just Jesus puts his face to the ground. Does that make him a Muslim? That's Sneako's reasoning. He doesn't know that this is the fallacy of the undistributed middle. Muslims pray with their faces to the ground. Jesus prayed with his face to the ground. Therefore, Jesus was a Muslim. All you have to do is change the ingredients a little bit and see if it works. Dogs like steak. I like steak. Therefore, I'm a dog.
Yep.
Dogs are mammals. My cat is a mammal. Therefore, my cat is a dog.
Yes.
Does any of that make sense? It's the exact same it's the exact same argument structure. This or this also or therefore this is this. Total fallacy. Idiotic. It's insanely idiotic. It is standard day one Dawah script. Why? Why is the entire foundation of Islamic Dawah lies, deception, and fallacies? If Islam is the truth, why would it need this? Why would it need this all the time? But let's let Sneako continue.
Islam was created 500 years later. The definition of Muslim means one who serves. And you ask like, oh, but Islam was created 500 years later. The definition of Muslim means one who serves God.
Then by that definition, all Christians that believe in the Trinity can claim to be Muslims.
Jesus served God. He was spreading God's message.
What?
That's not what it means. That's not what Muslim means. Muslim the Muslim
Submits.
literally means one who submits, and then it is then inferred by one who submits. We mean someone who submits to Allah. That is what it is supposed to mean.
And we already saw. We already saw. 465 says it's not just submit it. You have to submit in a particular way. There are requirements. There are requirements. But go ahead.
Here is the thing. Here's an issue. Look, they're saying Abraham was a Muslim, Moses was a Muslim, Jesus was a Muslim. Why? Because Muslim just means somebody who submits or who serves Allah. Okay, let's look at that argument for a second. So, you know what I thought of.
How would I know what you thought of? I'm not psychic.
A while ago, Muhammad Hijab talked to us about GIMP suits and about BDSM, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, so wearing a it is a sexual practice to put on one of those suits and to thereby be known as a sub or a submissive person or one who submits in sexual BDSM practices. So we can therefore agree. So if Muslim means just someone who submits, then in this sexual fetish culture, somebody who puts on a suit like that and submits to a dominant person is thereby a Muslim. Mm-hmm. So we could argue that if you put on a GIMP suit, for example, like Muhammad Hijab likes to talk about, that is actually a Muslim outfit, and being submissive in sexual BDSM fetishes makes you a Muslim. So this is actually an Islamic practice. There you go.
Yeah, guys. So pay attention. That the reasoning that Sneako just used, the etymology of this word is, and he said someone who serves Allah. AP pointed out, no, it's not. The etymology is just one who submits. So if you're just saying the word means this, and therefore anyone who meets the etymological meaning of the word is that thing, then yes, someone who dresses up in a GIMP suit and submits to some sexual ruler is a Muslim.
Yes, there you go.
According to, by the way, this is actually called a fallacy. This is actually considered a fallacy. It's called the etymological fallacy, saying here's what the word actually means when it was. Here's what the word originally meant, and therefore we can apply it, even though the word means something much different now. And that's what Sneako just did. But hey, we could give you more examples of this, right? The word Hindu originally just meant someone from India. It just meant someone from India. It didn't mean an adherent of a particular religion. So following Sneako's reasoning, Muslims in India are Hindus. Zakir Naik is a Hindu. According to Sneako, Zakir Naik is a Hindu. Why? Because the etymological meaning was just someone from India.
Yeah.
Buddhist, the Buddha means enlightened one. Do Muslims believe that Muhammad was enlightened? Yes. So Muhammad was the Buddha because he's the enlightened one, right? Muhammad's the enlightened one. So Muhammad's Buddha, and therefore Muslims are Buddhists. Muslims are Buddhists. Muslims are Hindus. Do you really want to argue this way? Anyone else on the planet, except for Dawa guys, would think this is the most insanely stupid and idiotic, fallacious reasoning that exists. And it is absolutely foundational to Dawa. They are programming Sneako on a daily basis because they know how stupid his followers are, and they're programming him to use this reasoning with his followers. Because it's standard Dawa script. But let's let Sneako continue.
Muslim, by definition, does not specifically mean Quran. It means one who serves God.
As I've noted before, this is an etymological fallacy.
Oh, he did point
The root of the word does not determine the word's meaning. You're speaking English, Sneako, and in English, the word Muslim means an adherent of Islam. And by the way, when Muslims play this game of semantics to try to make Jesus a Muslim, it's a waste of time. It doesn't actually get them to the conclusion they want, which is that Jesus taught the same things we find in the Quran. If they try to claim the term Muslim means one who submits to God, then any Christian can claim to be a Muslim, which they won't accept.
Right. So just to be clear, ladies and gentlemen, if I went around saying, I'm a Muslim right now, I'm a Muslim, I submit to God, I submit to God, they would say, no, you're not submitting to God properly. You have to do this and this and that. And you have to submit to our God. Okay. One who's not called Father? Which Jesus just referred to God as Father? I don't know what to do here, man. This is like, this is Dawa. All right.
Which they won't accept. If they try to say the term Muslim means one who submits to the God of the Quran, then Jesus definitely wasn't a Muslim because there's no evidence the religion of Islam existed before Muhammad. And if they then use the claims of the Quran to argue that Islam existed before Muhammad, that will be circular reasoning. It's impossible to state Jesus was a Muslim without committing at least one logical fallacy.
Did you catch that? He went through all the various possibilities of how you could he went through all the various possibilities, and every single one of them would involve a fallacy. If you're saying Jesus is a Muslim, every possible way you could make that claim, you have to use a logical fallacy. Muslims of the world, you cannot maintain that Jesus was a Muslim unless you are using a logical fallacy. You can't. It's impossible. That's what Dawa has done to you. That's the position that your religion. That's the position that your religion has put you in. Thank you, Inspiring Philosophy, for being the latest person to absolutely crush Sneako. And you just wonder how much more Sneako can put up with. He seems to like just being horribly brutalized like this, because he keeps opening the door for it. All right, AP, we have going to take a couple super chats, and we got one more topic, and that is the biggest fan of your greatest hero.
Hey, did you know that Muhammad was a goat?
Was he?
Yeah, because a goat just means greatest
of all time. So therefore, Muslims believe that Muhammad, he was the greatest of all time.
He was the greatest of all time. Muhammad was a goat. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know who else was a goat? Coincidence? Who else was a goat? According to different occults and different ideas, an ultimate demonic figure representing Satan or whatever it could be was also a goat. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah, and you can actually combine the fallacies like Sneako does. So Muhammad's the goat. What's the goat mean? Well, it means greatest of all time. Therefore, he's a goat. Well, who's also the greatest of all time? Michael Jordan. Therefore, Muhammad is Michael Jordan. What is this? This is like stupid. This is like basic levels. I mean, my God, what is this, man? What is this religion?
I actually have a statue of Muhammad right here. And I know it's a very sensitive topic, but I actually have a statue of Muhammad.
What are you talking about? I have a statue of Muhammad right here.
I forgot about that. You could make
what? Muhammad is the goat.
Yeah.
Hey, Sneako. Muhammad is the goat, right? Because goat means greatest of all time, and this is a goat. Therefore, Muhammad's a goat, right? Here's Muhammad screaming. Welcome to Dawa, ladies. This is what Dawa does to people. You just saw it.